Good evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams for Coast TV, and right now we are tracking a very deadly storms, several storms right now that are plowing its way through our northern portions of Sussex County. Now, we are providing this extra and behind-the-scenes coverage of this system because we have a severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect. That means we're dealing with a storm, and if you can listen very carefully, if you listen, we actually have this hitting our studios right now with heavy downpours and frequent lightning. So if you're underneath this storm, it feels as severe can be. And so we want to make sure that we provide, as a service to you, an update on what's happening on our app as well as our social media outlets on what's going on. Initially and up front, and I'm going to go full screen so you can have a better view of what's going on. This is the cell that's causing the misery right now. For the folks that they just got out of it in Owens as well as the Milford community, it's now tracking towards Slaughter Beach as well as in the immediate Milton area, but just north of Milton is where we have the most intense cell. Now, this severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for Sussex County at least for the next 19 minutes. It expires at 7 o'clock. It's headed towards the Lewis area, but it looks like it's veering more north, going towards one of the beaches there. I have with me right now Chris Mastrellano. And Chris, if you could zoom in, that's what I thought, going towards Slaughter Beach and Prime Hook. So really, if you're in the Waples community right now, you're feeling the brunt of this storm right now, and it's very quickly migrating towards Slaughter Beach and Prime Hook Beach. Let me make this very clear. This storm is going to change how things and the conditions around your house immediately. If you're in the Waples community, you're already being hit by this system, but in the wake of it, if you're in the Broadkill Beach area, Prime Hook Beach area, or Slaughter Beach, Oyster Rocks community as well, the focal point and the most intense part of this cell is moving directly in your area or towards your direction. Freeze on the last frame for just a quick moment, if you would, Chris. Now, we're going to zoom in tighter to where the red area is so we can possibly get even more detail as far as from a local standpoint what's going on there. So it's just moved out of Jefferson Crossroads, all right? And let me give you a better view of this with the full screen. And it's affecting the folks that live in Anderson Crossroads. It's important for you not to try to migrate through this storm. It's actually causing blinding rain at this point. Now, the folks in Mispillion Light as well as Slaughter Beach and Prime Hook Beach, this is going to literally be on your doorstep within the next 2 to 3 minutes at the very latest. And you're already starting to see the conditions change around your immediate area. Zooming out a little bit more so we can get a better perspective of what's happening with the storm and how it's moving across. The area of yellow that you see here, that's actually where we have the severe thunderstorm warning. Now, all the pink that you see around it, that's actually where we have an active severe thunderstorm watch. Now, the difference is the warning is the red cell you see pushing across right there, okay? So that's why we have the warning. That cell is tracking very quickly at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. So I don't really see a need, because we track it, it's going to track right off of the coast. So I want to zoom in again. Those communities that are affected by this, and keep the loop going if you would, Chris. But so those folks who are in the path of this includes the Waples community is being affected right now. Prime Hook Beach. I need for the folks that are in that area, batten down the hatches. Now, frequent lightning strikes, and it's a very scary sounding storm. That's how it was when it pushed across our immediate Milton area where our studios are located. And the downpours are causing blinding rain at this point. It is not advisable whatsoever for you to try to get out on the roads whatsoever. In fact, it's such a fast moving storm. You just have to have about 20 to 25 minutes of patience, and the entire system is likely to pass on by and not pose you any more problems. But as of right now at 6:44, we still have an active severe thunderstorm warning in our area. Now, freeze it on the last frame if you would, Chris. I want to kind of widen the scope and kind of show you the entire line that's affecting the entire Delmarva community at this point. And if you hear the background noise right now, that's actually the storm and the waning part or the backside of this storm as it's leaving the immediate Milton area. Let's widen the scope a little bit forward and get a wider view there, Chris. I appreciate it, even more so. So here's this entire line as it's pushing through. And this is accompanying a trough that's pushing throughout the region. A wider view of this is kind of showing you this entire line. Now, the part that's ironic, and let's use a pointer here as we begin to look at this part, Chris, if you would. Now, I want to point first of all to this trough, that dot, that you see that line right there, the black line. It's like a jagged line that has space between it. All right. So as you begin to point that out, if you would, Chris, we want to kind of show you that line there. That's actually a trough. That's an elongated area of low pressure, and it's not quite a cold front, although troughs act a lot like a cold front occasionally. Now, to the north where you see the pointer going now, that where the blue line is, that's a bona fide cold front, and if we had that going there, that would be an even more potent trigger to ignite these storms. Now, as we get rid of that and zoom in a little bit more, I'm starting to see emerging into the most southwestern portions of the state, we have a newly activated severe thunderstorm warning. I believe if you could click on that, Chris, that's including Salisbury, Westover, Crisfield, Shelltown, Tangier. It's already beginning to make its way into Smith's Island. Now that severe thunderstorm warning is going to stay active until about 7:30. So we're talking about 60-mile-per-hour winds. The last system was moving to the east at about 40 miles per hour. What is this one, Chris? 55 miles an hour. Okay. Well, then let's go ahead and take a look at some of the cells that is associated with that. Widen the scope of this, and let's erase that warning off of the board real quick. So let's just grab one of the cells and see if we can do a that's coming across the river, so we can kind of show folks how that's moving. It's moving in that direction. Okay, so we're looking forward to hit the Princess Anne community at 7:20. All right, that's the front edge of this storm, and it's moving approximately 50 miles per hour. You said correct, Chris? Yes. Okay, and so then it's also going to make its move through the Salisbury area right around 7:32. Ironically enough, now remember, this is a warning that's going to stay active until about 7:30, but we're looking for that tracking. That cell's going to stay active until 7:32, moving through Salisbury. Then it will begin to jump right over towards the Delmar community and likely to strike them at approximately 7:39. Okay, and that's the path that we see this particular cell that's moving. Let's erase that cell real quick, Chris, and let's see if we can do a squall line tracking so we can kind of gauge this entire squall line that's pushing through, that's prompting this recent severe thunderstorm warning. So that's the line. All right, go down to the bottom and then release it and then move it. Up at the top, we start. We draw the line down, release the clicker. Now move it to the right. There we go, right there. Okay, so Pocomoke City, 7:14 is the arrival time of this entire line. Ocean View, 7:34. And the reason why I wanted to track this is because we have a wide and a very heavy audience in Ocean City. And so the folks that are seeing us on our app right now might have been concerned, well, when is it going to affect the folks in Ocean City? We're letting you know that right now, this squall line that's prompted the latest severe thunderstorm warning is going to move into the Ocean City area at about 7:37. Now, Ocean City is not included officially within the area of the severe thunderstorm warning concerned vicinity. However, that same storm is likely to stay very strong as it tracks across the land because we have so much energy that's in place. I'm talking about a tremendous amount of energy that's in place. Temperatures were in the 90s for today, with the dew point temperatures excelling into rising all the way into the mid 70s for today, which is more like sweltering conditions you would see, let's say, in Houston or Mississippi or Louisiana, New Orleans to be more exact. Let's erase that, Chris, and let's go back to what's happening in the immediate Sussex County area. So we're kind of taking a close eye on what's happening in two different areas. We're going to continue to track what we anticipate in Ocean City, and we're going to simultaneously continue to cover what's happening active right now throughout Sussex County. Now, the Sussex County warning is going to stay in effect for the next 11 minutes. And freeze it on the last frame there, Chris. Right there is where we are with this storm. So it's now primarily over Waples. With that being the case, Chris, I want to see if there's any shear there. Can we click over to shear over towards Waples, please? Over towards Broadkill Beach. Now, as he's getting that together real quick, I want to explain to you what's going on here, what I'm asking for. When we're talking about shear is kind of like one of our meteorological markers that lets us know if a storm is growing or waning. Okay, so shear, and so what we'll see, we're going to zoom in here. I'm going to switch gears so you can see why I'm showing you this. So you see Waples right now. We don't see anything happening. Now you notice at the top, weak would be the red color, and if we had some white coloring, yellow or black, it would indicate strong. So this is a good sign. This is a good thing. This means that as this emerges, you can go back to the radar, Chris. So as this emerges off of the coast, it should move out of the way. Look, they just augmented the warning. Zoom in a little bit tighter. Let's see what that warning is for. Immediate Lewis area. Highlight it, Chris, and let's get the latest information on that warning area. So severe thunderstorm warning has now been customized specifically for Milton along Highway 9 and Lewis. Zoom out a little bit more, Chris. I thought I saw some circulation to the north of that. Okay. All right, so now we're in the immediate Lewis area at this point. I'm going to show this full screen for you just briefly. It is still racing to the east at about 40 or 50 miles per hour, Chris? 45 miles per hour. So I wonder, can you see if we can take a look at one of our live cameras in Lewis real quick? Because we see what it looks like as far as the radar is concerned, but what does this look like in real time? And you know, when you compare the radar imagery to the actual imagery or the view we have outside, that begins to be a little bit of a challenge. Be patient, give the camera a chance to boot up. It's in the middle of a severe storm. And so we're not quite seeing that change gears there. We have a second camera, I believe. That's my Irish Eye camera. Go to the other camera. Let's see if we can pick up something. We do see the heavy cloud cover. You can see the overcast conditions right there. Right there. We're looking at that kind of that cloud cover. That is what I'm seeing, correct, Chris? Yes. Okay. Yeah, we're seeing a bit of a shelf cloud that's pushing across the immediate Lewis area right now. This is a live view of what's happening on our app and on our social media page of just how the conditions are changing. Now, listen, if you are in the Lewis area, this storm is going to come knock on your door within the next 3 to 4 minutes, okay? In the next 3 to 4 minutes, this severe storm. Now, this is a different view. That's the view I was looking for. Okay, so this is indicative of the shelf cloud and the wall that's beginning to develop as that instability pushes through. Now, on the left side of your screen, can you put a pointer on that screen? No, it might not be an option. It's okay. Okay, so as I go, I'm going to show you the full view of this. All right, so what you're looking at, you see where the point is, where that building is? That's kind of where the rain is beginning to push through very quickly there, and this ominous aspect of this cloud cover is pushing through. The good thing is this: we're not seeing circulation happening in the upper atmosphere. So we're able to analyze this for you in real time to let you know, yes, this is a severe storm. Yes, it has winds accelerating at about 60 miles per hour. Yes, there's the potential of small size hail associated with this system. However, the good news, I guess the silver lining in the midst of this very thick cloud cover, is that we're not seeing upper level circulation, which is a good thing. And we want that to push off the landmass and get out of the way. And if it wants to act a fool like that, we don't want it over anybody's home and out in the ocean and away from everybody's boat as well. Let's go back, Chris, if you don't mind, back to the radar, because that's what it looks like in live cam or live view. Now we're going to compare that to what it looks like on our radar. Zoom in tightly, Chris, so we can kind of show that. And I'm going to change your aspects. You can see this on your app and on your phone even easier. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so widen the scope just a little bit. I want to begin to I want to slice through this particular area. Freeze it to the last frame real quick. And let's see if we can activate our 3D slice. Click at the top of the page right there. Go to an analysis. That one doesn't have that aspect available there. We'd have to go to a different one. Okay, that's all right, but that's all right. We can still begin to look at how this is tracking across our immediate area, okay? So we had this over Milton as it pushed across. That's an updated view? That's interesting. That's very interesting. It looks like I'm seeing a little delay in our information. So let's erase this all out of the way so it's not so cluttered. And let's go ahead and at the top, reinitiate, and you can take there you go, take that out of the way. So here's what's happening right now. Right now we are at 6:54. Our intention is to stay active until the severe thunderstorm warnings are over in the immediate Sussex County area. And in Lewis, we're seeing that cell that's pushing across. I think it's going to still have a shelf life of about 5 more minutes. But you know what I'm also noticing, Chris, down at the bottom of your screen? Freeze it on the last frame real quick. the folks that are in Laurel, can you get ready to find the Laurel camera? Freeze that on the last frame and zoom in tighter so we can see what's happening in Laurel. Just on the other side of Laurel, we're seeing another active cell that's now affecting the folks that are in the community of Portsville. If you're along Highway 13 from Seaford, Laurel, down towards Bacon, Highway 13, we're going to see the conditions begin to deteriorate very quickly. Anticipate winds accelerating and swirling very quickly. Whoa, 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 hold up. Let me look at that again. Okay, we're just looking at the clouds getting a little bit low, but we're not seeing any kind of torque that's happening there. But it looked similar to a possible wedge for us right now. I'm going to look over because it's always, two eyes are always better than one. I'm looking at a wedge a little bit, but it's more of a shelf cloud, but I'm not seeing a genuine wedge. Are you seeing the same thing, Chris? Yeah.
Like what we're seeing is probably maybe just like the torrential downpour. Maybe
torrential downpour, yeah, and it's causing that sucking down effect to create that type of a wedge. Now, and one of the reasons why is because Chris is looking at a big, gigantic screen that gives him a little more detailed view than I am. I'm over here at the cart giving you the information here from an analytical standpoint, but he's doing the driving right now as I'm kind of directing us through the litany of information that's available right now for us. I'm back to going with a full screen here. So we are looking at that cell that's active moving throughout the Seaford area. Go right down there towards Seaford, if you would, Chris. And you see that cell which developed on both sides of Highway 9. It's headed towards Bryan's Store and it's headed towards Georgetown. As the latest, well, no, we don't have an aspect on that because it hasn't prompted a new severe thunderstorm warning yet. But here's what I'm going to do. We're going to analyze this on the fly right now. Okay. So Chris, what I want you to do is put that over to the left side of your screen, and we're doing this together live. This is behind the scenes stuff. So this is how we work what we do. I want you to put a tracking. I want you to do a cone tracking of that. Okay. All right. Go to a cone tracking. Wait, before you do that, go to measuring, because I want you to measure how far is that storm away from Georgetown. Hit measure, and then click on the front side of the storm and go towards Georgetown. We're trying to see just how many miles it has. Okay, it's got 7 miles to go. It's 7 miles away. So if you're in Georgetown, we want to remind you, if you're in Georgetown, this storm is 7 miles away, and it has 2 very potent cells on each side of Highway 9. And it's tracking to the northeast. It's only 7 miles away from you. Let's take that arrow off, put it in the bottom left side of the corner, and let's track it on a path. And I believe it's moving. It's moving pretty steadily at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. You're going to have to widen the view of it, okay? And let's take the camera and all that kind of stuff out of the way. After you widen it up, push it over to the bottom left of the screen. This is indicating the communities that are in the path. So it's going to move through Redden, then Sand Hill, and then Milton again, and then Drawbridge, and then Broadkill Beach. Now the question is, what about the exact timing of that system? Now, when you take a look at the exact timing of it, what we'll do here is, first of all, we begin to erase this out of the way so we can have a better view of what's going on. We're going to continue to activate our cone here, pull it out of the way. All right, and as we put this to the bottom side here and begin to activate the cone, because we have 2 ways we can do it, down here and up there, okay, Chris? We can go in this direction, and it was about 30 to 40 miles per hour. All right, so this gives us a fresh view of what's happening with this storm. This is a cell, look at that, and just prior to it, we now have a newly issued severe thunderstorm warning. So we are already ahead of the curve as far as tracking this storm and what it is. Chris, click on the inquiry line and see what that new warning is for us. That just hit while we were on the air and while we were actually showing that at this point. So it's a newly issued severe thunderstorm warning. This one's staying in effect until 7:45 for Sussex. It's marching. What is it saying as far as the aspects is concerned?
30 miles an hour and 60 mile an hour winds.
Say it again so we can hear it on
So
the
we have,
microphone.
30 mile an hour moving to the east at 30 miles an hour with the threat is a 60 mile an hour wind gust.
Okay, so we're looking at 60 miles. So if it's 30 miles an hour, but it's moving directly to the east?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll do it that way. And this gives us a feel as to where this is going at this point. So we're looking for it to push throughout Bryan's Store. All right, and this is a newly issued severe thunderstorm warning. Sorry, I should have changed the purview on it, but I didn't. But this is a severe thunderstorm warning that's active for Bryan's Store, Millsboro, Long Neck, and Ocean View. Now, this has just been issued from the National Weather Service. It's going to stay in effect until about 7:45. So the folks that are in the Bryan Store community, it's literally about 5 to 6 minutes away from marching through your downtown area. Then it's going to begin to cross over 113, probably at approximately 7:15-ish, and then expected to hit Millsboro by 7:20. Then we have to be concerned about how conditions are going to deteriorate so quickly for the folks in the Bullseye community. Following, and that's at about 7:28, just prior to the bottom of the hour. Then on the other side of the bottom of the hour, that's when we're expecting for it to expand over towards Long Neck at about 7:37, and then begin to hit the Ocean View area at 7:48. And you'll notice, as you zoom in and erase all that out of the way for a quick moment, Chris, so we can see how this moves. You'll notice that what we had was a twin cell of concern. You'll also notice how suddenly this all morphed into just one particular cell of concern, all right? So we have now 2 active severe thunderstorm warnings. Go up towards Lewis. Let's see, why is that still active? Let's click on that information and inquire that for you real quickly. So we still have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect of 7:45. It's also inclusive of Lewis area. But to be honest, the folks in Lewis, that's a cell that's going to pass to your north. You're not in quite as much harm's way as the folks that are dealing with this much redder and more intense cell that's actually to the south. Okay, so let's zoom back in on the cell that's right over Gumsboro. Let's freeze it to the last frame. Let's hold the position of it just quickly, all right? And so I wanted to see what our marker was indicating there. We're also, now you see that symbol that's actually to the left of your screen? Let's kind of slide it over to the right a little bit so folks can see that. Okay, so now you see that symbol? This is a bit of a cheat code that we have here. Freeze it on the last frame so we can see that marker right there. There we go. Freeze it on the last frame there. Now, it's a bit of a cheat code because it lets us know from the last rotation of the Doppler radar just what is it that's the most predominant aspect of that particular red cell. And right now it's indicating to us that it's a cell, and those are arrows that are coming up right there. And that's indicating that we have a lot of updraft, so it's still a strengthening storm. It's not dying out quickly, but of the things that you see falling out of it, that's indicating that it's a marker for some type of hail that's falling. So if you're in the hardscrabble community, Bryan Store, and it's headed towards at least the northern tip of that, it headed towards Georgetown and the Millsboro area. So we're talking about a storm with about 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. It's moving and tracking to the east at about 30 miles per hour, and it's producing at least small-size hail connected to this storm cell. As you begin to take the look at this from a more complete standpoint, you can see how it's really moving literally right along Highway 9. And so you see that general movement that the entire line is pushing to the east, but that particular red cell of concern, it's over Hardscrabble. Zoom in a little bit tighter. Let's see some other communities that are being affected by this. It's already hit Hitchens, Sycamore, Gums Crossroad, Flea Hill Community, okay, shortly, as well as Pine Grove. So here are the communities that are on notice from this severe storm. They would include Jones Crossroads, Piney Grove, the folks that are in the community called Shortley. If you're in Bryan Store community, it's going to begin to affect you. The outer ridge of it is going to push the real community. If you're anywhere along Highway 9, basically going towards Georgetown, and where Highway 9 and 113 cross, that's where the center of the cell is moving directly in that direction at approximately 30 miles per hour. It veers a little bit more so towards the north. So it's going to be vitally important that you do not try to drive through, around, or outrun this thing. Pull your car to the side of the road. Don't try to outrun it. Don't try to outsmart it. Let it simply pass by. Just allow, and who cares if it dents your car? Because if you begin to play with this thing, particularly if you have a high riding vehicle like a SUV or a truck or anything like that, these winds can whip up and push you to the side of the road very quickly. And we're talking about blinding rain that's also associated with this push as it slides on through, because you'll also notice with that symbol that you see on the side there, freeze it on the last frame there so I can demonstrate that, Chris. Zoom in on the symbol just briefly. I want to illustrate something else too. You see that, go in a little more detail. You see that all of that rain that's coming down associated with those pieces of hail, that's also indicating blinding rain. Okay? I'm literally giving you the cheat code as to how to see and how to utilize what you're seeing for the best diagnostic view of what's happening with the system. So we're looking at small hail, a complete amount of updraft that's continuing to occur, and blinding rain that's associated with this. No, it's not a tornado. We know that. That's why we're not on the air live, on our live air, on the television signal. But we wanted to make sure that if you're in the Sussex County area, that you are very mindful and have access to the latest available information with these severe thunderstorms that are popping up across the entire county in such a random way that you have to be very mindful of just how quickly things can turn from one way to a possible other. And it's not just in Sussex County, but now we want to begin to kind of track what are we anticipating for the folks that see us on the other side of the Delmarva Peninsula as well. So, for example, we see to the left, freeze it right there if you would, Chris, pow, right there, okay? Now, we want to begin to squall line track what's happening from that Nanticoke Frenchtown line right there at the bottom. Let's go down, release, and then move to the right, okay, and move it to the speed that it's moving. All right, so here we go. Now, this is the latest tracking with this squall line that's pushing through. Now, remember, just as a reminder, we track this in two manners: isolated cell or the cone, and then right now we're doing what's called a squall line tracking. That's when the entire line is pushing through, and we're trying to give you a feel as to how that line is going to migrate through a certain area based on the latest data that's available from the National Weather Service as to what prompted the last severe thunderstorm warning. Back we go with a full view of what's going on. So what is this telling us? What is this telling you? First of all, we're at 7:07 right now. We have a severe thunderstorm warning that has just been newly issued for this area until 7:30. And we have a history of 55 to 60 mile per hour winds, and we know that it's tracking to the east at about 30 to 35 miles per hour. Now, it's 7:07 right now. We're looking for this line to affect the folks in the Restover community within the next 4 minutes. You have a 4-minute window to seek shelter if you live in the Westover community. Now, we don't typically talk about Salisbury, but we are because it's along the way with this tracking. Salisbury and Salisbury Regional Airport is going to hit Salisbury at about 7:28 and then hit the airport at approximately 6 minutes later. So hitting downtown Salisbury at 7:28 and then 6 minutes later, the Salisbury Regional Airport at 7:34. Then a 10-window turnaround as it begins to turn its wrath towards the Pittsville area. So around 7:44, that's when we're looking for this storm to slow walk its way through Pittsville. Then finally, right around the 8 o'clock hour, we look for this to begin to affect the folks in Ocean Pines. Now, the irony here is that the actual warning is not set to extend beyond 7:30, but we are expecting for this storm to stay cohesive enough to still bring with it the likelihood of blinding rain, very dangerous straight line winds, with the possibility of small size hail. So this has been a multifaceted squall line that we are continuing to keep close tabs on. Now we go back into the storm that prompted the latest to keep you updated, and we're tracking several storm cells. So there are different communities being affected in different ways, and we're trying to get to everybody. Now you'll notice that the same storm cell that prompted this warning, click on the inquiry so we can remind them of the warning there. And so what we're going to do now is, because we have a lot of folks that view us in Georgetown, I want to encourage the folks that are in Georgetown to go ahead and to go to our Facebook page for Telemundo, because just briefly, we have Ana Sofia Roman, who is actually on staff right now, and she's going to begin to utilize some of the information we have available for you in Spanish. This is our Coast TV side, so I'm not going to go back and forth in Spanish too many times, but she's going to be able to provide you with more information as it becomes available on our Telemundo side. So, para una información de nueva información, para un aviso de tormenta, vía página de Facebook ahora mismo en vivo información, nueva información ahora mismo. So I've said be sure you go to our Facebook page. We have available information that's live and available right now, okay? Because this is now beginning to target the Georgetown community, and we have a heavy Hispanic community in that area, and we want everyone to be safe and mindful of what's going on, because it's scary no matter what language you speak when something like this begins to overtake your community. So here's the latest on the Central Sussex County warning. Now it's active until 7:45. It's in the Bryan Store community. It just left Hitchens Crossroad, about to move throughout downtown Georgetown, and we're likely to see it begin to move into the Morris Hill community. This is also moving very gingerly and steadily along Highway 9, and where you have the cross section between 113 and Highway 9, that's where we're seeing this storm that's actually begun to concentrate its effort. This is literally headed towards downtown Georgetown. Look at that. Zoom in on that, Chris, right there. That cell pushed on through. Ana Sofia Roman, are you able to get things going on the Facebook page? Okay, so she has that information available for you. The folks that are in Georgetown, go to our Telemundo de Marvel 42, Telemundo de 42 página de Facebook. Go to that Facebook page immediately so you can see the information in real time available for you, so that you can know what's going on with this severe storm that's pushing through the area. And it's racing quickly at about 30 miles per hour. Is there something that you're seeing and observing there, Chris, that you want to add into that?
It's the torrential downpours, with this particular cell,
Torrential downpours are still staying pretty plenteous at this particular juncture, huh? I'm very curious as to see what's happening with the reflectivity of this, and I'm going to push it into the now mode, so to speak. And what I'm looking at right now, I'm trying to see if we have this analytical tool available. There it goes. The 3D slice is available here. So I'm going to slice through this and see what kind of height are we looking at with this storm. It's looking pretty impressive right now as far as the height is concerned with this. It's going between 30,000 to 40,000 feet. And so as it begins to push through the immediate Georgetown area, we're looking at a storm that's getting stronger and it's getting taller. In this case, what you're looking at, we literally tilted the view here. So you're looking at this sort of 3D view along with our marker. So what you see with the cloud cover and all the arrows and stuff like that, that's showing you the strongest marker that's being portrayed right now. If it were tornadic, you'd see little circles, little arrows going into circles. So right now, it's simply a supercell thunderstorm. But what comes with the supercell thunderstorm is not just simply rain. It comes with dangerous straight line winds, and in this case, we've already had a book, or we've already had a legacy of at least 60-mile-per-hour winds. In some cases, it was actually up to 70 miles per hour. Not only that, but we've had a consistency of hail. So if you're starting to hear some tapping on your windows or on your house, or if you're in your car, that's part of the situation here. But the blinding rain is also very significant, and we're talking about very quick downpours with little to no warning that's connected to this system as it begins to push through. You see, as we zoom in a little bit tighter and kind of show you the areas that are under the gun here, I'm looking at the folks in Morris Hill right now. If you're in the Benham community, and this is the kind of detail that we want to provide for you, not generalities and just say, hey, it's just Sussex County. That's of no use to you, and that would be a waste of time. But we want to make sure that you know what communities are in the path of this storm immediately. So it's right now in Georgetown, downtown Georgetown, where you have Highway 9 and Highway 113 meet. And it's headed towards the Benham community, and it's also going to push throughout Morris Hill as well. Now, with this eastward tracking, that, according to what we were saying, Chris, about 30 miles per hour, right?
Yeah, 30 miles down to the east.
To 30 miles per hour directly to the east. We're looking for it to begin to affect the folks that are in Hollyville, Angola by the Bay, and to be quite honest, it's on a track to head straight for Rehoboth Beach. It's on a track to head straight towards Rehoboth Beach. So, as we widen this, thank you, Chris. You're reading my mind already. So let's widen the scope, because I was only at 17 miles per hour. Let's get another tracking of it, erasing, and start from scratch, because how big the cone is will show you. So you'll notice he's putting it in position for you right there. All right, and as we begin to kind of track this, you watch the purple tracking, and he's going to reach it out. It was only at 22. Go out a little bit further or farther, Chris. Let's do it one more time, because we know it's going to hit Rehoboth Beach, but I believe it's going to hit it a lot sooner than 7:55. So we go, there we go. Click it right there. All right, so it's going to hit the Dewey Beach area. This is actually more accurate on what we're expecting and anticipating. So look for this cell that's in downtown Georgetown to begin to move towards the Zor community, Z-O-A-R, Zar, or Zor. Forgive me if I've gotten that pronunciation wrong. But also then it's going to move throughout Fairmount at about 7:26, and then Long Neck at 7:33. Then Dewey Beach at 7:40. It's 7:15 right now, so we're talking about a 20 to 25 minute window. So you have ample time to seek shelter. And now it's breaking into its dual cluster once again, moving throughout the area, and as it's tracking towards the east. So we're seeing a reinitiating of severe thunderstorm warnings in our immediate area that's now throughout central portions of Sussex County. But then we have to keep track of yet another cell that's now emerging over the immediate Delmar community. So behind this, we're back to Laurel. And so with Laurel, Chris, after you get that aspect and we freeze and take a look at it, we're going to take a look at the communities in detail. Then we want to try to look through both Laurel cameras and see what we can pick up, all right? So a couple of things to keep in mind. Severe thunderstorms will pack a wallop of straight line winds in excess of 55 miles per hour. Severe thunderstorms can also cause flash flooding, particularly if you're in an area where drainage is a bit of a problem, and it's historically been a problem. Let's say if your neighborhood, it's always been a problem. When you have these kind of storms that are dumping such a tremendous amount of rain in such a short period of time, that's problematic because it kind of happens out of nowhere, okay? In addition to that, we are also mindful of the fact that, hey, we want to basically continue to arm you with the information on how fast this is moving across. Now, I'm going to change the perspective of what we're looking at right now. Now we're looking at Laurel, and this is a live view of what's happening in Laurel right now. Here's a wide view of this. So you can see how encompassing and how overwhelming the rain and the visual of severe thunderstorms. And a lot of times people began to take for granted like a severe thunderstorm is not a big deal, or not as big a deal that should be feared and carefully migrated in. But when you're talking about something that can whip winds in excess of 70 miles per hour, it doesn't matter if it's twisting in the form of a tornado or whatever. That's a 70 mile per hour wind, my dear friend, is still a 70 mile per hour wind gust. And so that being the case, that was the view that we had with our live depiction of what was going on. Now when we go into this a little bit more so, you can see what those dark reds really look like, okay? And to be honest, as you freeze it on the last frame there, what you saw was actually yellow. You get what I'm saying? So the red, the darker red that you see in between the Ralph community and Bacon's that's tracking to the east, that wasn't even the most intense look of what was going on. In fact, Chris, if you would, keep that picture right there and go straight to the Laurel camera. Look, once again, this is the yellow coloring that you see on our radar. Now, this is something you might not see all the time, and this is what the yellow looks like in real time, okay? You see how blinding it is. You see how encompassing it is. Now, it's hard for us to gauge what's happening with the wind because this is more of a skyline view, but it's a clear indicator as to just how significant it is. Now, let's go ahead and flip back to the radar. Once again, that's what it looks like in a live view. Now we go back to what it looks like on our radar, and you'll notice that's what the red looks like, okay? We zoom it in a little bit tighter. Whoa, widen that view. I thought I saw something that looked a little bit suspicious there, Chris. Take off the surface map, so I can get that trough out of the way, okay? And save it that way so we can keep that out of the way for right now so it doesn't interfere with our view of what's happening. Okay, so we are seeing this entire line is pushing across north of Salisbury, and we have the active severe thunderstorm warning. That's what I thought I picked up. You see that circulation there, Chris? Yeah, okay. Jump on that really quickly, and let's see what's happening with that. Near the Mount Vernon area, Vinton, Princess Anne, that's a very fast-moving cell right there. That's in connection to the warning that's supposed to expire at 7:30, which includes Salisbury, Eden, Copeland, Deep Branch, Quantico, P. Hill. Put it on the last frame if you would, and let's just kind of sit on this to see if it turns into something that deals with circulation here. It's on the other side of Highway 13, which is south of Salisbury right now. But I want to go north. Let's go up to the Columbia area right now. As we go up to the Columbia area near Mardello Springs, just outside of the Del Mar community, that we're looking at more in the way of stronger storms, at least in a line of storms that's pushing through south of Sharptown, through the Ralphs community, over south of Laurel, and headed towards Low and Sycamore. Low and Sycamore. Okay, so what we want to do, let's do a cone tracking of this at this point to kind of get a view of this. I'm almost a little bit, I'm getting a little curious as to see if we're picking up on any kind of shear or shear track that's associated with this system right now. It doesn't look impressive enough to do anything like that. But everything's an outside possibility. So we're taking, let's just peruse the entire area for shear, particularly down where we saw something possibly happening. Okay, so what I'm doing right now, we're trying to make sure that none of these storms are trying to literally sneak under the radar. Because what storm shear does, it lets us know if this storm is becoming potent enough to really jump off something that could become, let's say, tornadic. And since we saw that brief signal that began to circulate for just a moment, we wanted to make sure and get a clear indication of that's not the case. Do we have any of the lightning strikes that are available or loaded up for us, Chris? If we don't worry about it. There we go. Okay, so now we're seeing some of the lightning that's pushing up right now. So this is actually within a 5-minute window or less. This is a live depiction of what kind of lightning is going on. Now, why is this important? Wherever you see this strong line of lightning, that indicates that we have a strong squall line of storms that's pushing through. But this is also where you have a problem that we all face when dealing with thunderstorms, which is power outages. Okay, storm damage, not only just because of wind, but when you have this density of lightning strikes, this poses a significant problem with our electronic devices, our homes, our home security, ring cameras, and all these kinds of things. But most importantly, it's just simply dangerous. And so when you're looking at lightning like this, like we're picking up on our live radar, in the midst of this squall line activity, this is not something in which you want to play around with as far as going outside or anything like that. Because you got to remember, with this kind of density, in other words, the lightning strikes are so numerous here, all those great lightning strikes, that if you are the highest point in a field, the lightning will strike you, not a tree, because you're the only quote unquote tree available. And you have to remember something about lightning strikes. Most lightning strikes, are a negative discharge, okay? And so they're coming from the cloud and they're coming down to the ground with the movement of the electrons. When that occurs, if you're in a field like Laurel or Seaford or Del Mar, when you're in that kind of an area and you're the only point, the highest point there, that lightning, when it's looking for a place to release the electrons, it's going to find the highest point. And if that's the top of your